That is the use of these WNBA referees pretty much altering games, changing the outcome of games, and something has to be done in regards to that matter. The WNBA referees has definitely been playing a major role in who's winning games and who's losing games.
Did you hear about the WNBA scandal? A referee was caught on camera blatantly targeting Caitlin Clark, and it's sparking a major uproar across the league. This isn't just a minor slip-up. It's so obvious that fans are shouting at their screens in disbelief, and we have the footage to back it up. But the real twist, the WNBA's response to this controversy is nothing short of shocking. Imagine watching a game and feeling like something's just off. That's been Clark's entire season, like she's got a target on her back, and the refs are turning a blind eye.
She got landing zone fouled at least 5 times that weren't called. She got the Kennedy Carter one that was called as a normal foul on the day. The eye poke, even if you believe it wasn't intentional, it's still a flagrant one. The Alyssa Thomas shoulder barge to the face, like there were a lot of blatant flagrants that weren't called.
Let's talk about Clark's special whistle, and trust me, it's not a good thing. It's the whistle that stays silent when it should be blowing, letting opponents get away with everything while Clark is left wondering what she did wrong. It's the kind of whistle that has fans scratching their heads and yelling at their screens.
Lads, we watched the WNBA season this year, and we know that Caitlin Clark's whistle was a strange one. We know that she had a very, very strange whistle, and we know that the reality of the situation is that she got flagrantly fouled 5 or 6 times throughout the year. It should have been 10.
Remember that game against Chicago? Clark drives to the basket, focused and determined, with that look in her eye like she's about to make something big happen. Then, bam, she's on the floor, taken down hard.
Half about Seattle, and all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long, 44-2.
The crowd gasps, waiting for a whistle, but guess what? Nothing. No call, nada. It's like the refs suddenly forgot how to use their whistles. Now, here's where it gets wild. If this happened in the NBA, it would be a totally different story. There'd be flags flying, whistles blaring, maybe even an ejection or two. The double standard is so obvious, it has everyone wondering what's really going on.
But now is a funny one, because we're now seeing like the same WNBA media that were happy. Well, I'm not gonna say happy, but like we're like, oh, these are normal fouls, this is just normal basketball. Now when it happens in the NBA, making it a bigger deal. And this is where kind of the problem is that it was one rule for Caitlin and one rule for everybody else.
We're going to break down what's going on in both leagues, and the difference is jaw-dropping. In the NBA, players are protected, hard fouls get called, dangerous plays are shut down immediately. But in the WNBA, it's like they're following a whole different rulebook, and Caitlin Clark is caught right in the middle of it. Let's talk about flagrant fouls, those plays that make you wince just watching, the ones where you think, asterisk ouch, that's got to hurt. Asterisk Clark has been on the receiving end of some brutal hits, yet the refs are acting like they don't even see it.
There was also a stat that came out a few weeks ago that said Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky against Caitlin Clark.
Let's dive into the controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark and the WNBA officiating, and trust me, you won't believe the stark contrast between how the leagues protect their players. In the NBA, hard fouls are swiftly penalized, and dangerous plays are shut down immediately. But in the WNBA, it often feels like there's a different set of rules in play, with Clark right in the thick of it. Take that game against the Sky, for instance. Clark is driving to the basket with determination, eyes locked on the hoop, when, wham, she's taken down hard, and you can almost feel the impact through the screen. You'd think that would warrant an automatic flagrant foul for unnecessary or excessive contact, right? Yet the refs let it slide, shrugging off the blatant assault as if they were watching a completely different game. It's infuriating. Clark, left on the floor, see stars while the action continues as if nothing happened. Fans are going wild, demanding accountability for these missed calls. In the playoffs, when players think they can get away with rough play against stars like Clark or Angel Reese, it should be stopped immediately. Remember when Elisa Smith practically choke-slammed Angel Reese? That kind of behavior should have been nipped in the bud right away. But this isn't a one-off situation. We'll take you through a series of questionable plays that highlight how Clark seems to have a target on her back, with refs handing out free shots instead of fair calls. Clark has faced some brutal hits, especially against Diamond Deshields in that Sky game, an obvious foul that went uncalled, just adding to the growing list of cheap shots and hard fouls that seem to go unnoticed. It's alarming that nearly 20% of all flagrant fouls called this season involve Clark, and this is a systemic issue that extends all the way up to the commissioner's office. The referees stand there like they're waiting for a bus, completely inactive while the game spirals into chaos. And then there's the jaw-dropping moment when Dana Bonner undercut Clark during a crucial playoff game. As Clark goes up for a three-pointer, Bonner makes a dangerous move that could have serious consequences. Instead of protecting their players, the refs seem oblivious, leaving the league's safety in question. Some might argue that the referees are just letting them play, but this is crossing the line into dangerous territory. Coaches, players, and commentators are all calling for stricter enforcement of the rules. In fact, I believe the WNBA needs even stricter regulations regarding fouls than the NBA. Social media is buzzing with fans comparing the two leagues, pointing out that similar hits in the NBA would lead to immediate ejections, while in the WNBA, players seem to get away with murder. The impact of these missed calls goes beyond just Clark. It raises serious questions about how we treat our star players. Are they being targeted because they're too good, or is the league trying to toughen them up? This isn't just unfair to Clark, it sends a terrible message to young girls watching, aspiring to play in the WNBA someday. They're witnessing excessive physicality that overshadows the skill and finesse that draws fans to the game. As we look ahead, it's clear something needs to change. Whether it's new referees, revised rules, or a commitment from the league to protect its stars, the current state of officiating is casting a shadow over the WNBA. Fans are turning off their TVs, frustrated by the lack of accountability and the increasing number of dangerous plays going unpunished. This isn't just a matter of personal disappointment, it's affecting the league's bottom line. With fewer fans comes less revenue, which jeopardizes the future of the WNBA. This impacts everyone, from the players and coaches to the vendors at the games. The league needs to step up and protect its players, especially those like Caitlin Clark, who bring in a whole new audience. Let's be real, this isn't a minor issue. It's a critical moment for the WNBA. Clark's situation isn't just about her. It's a reflection of how the league prioritizes player safety and the integrity of the game. With the current trajectory, if something doesn't change soon, we could see more than just missed calls. We could witness a fundamental shift in the future of the WNBA itself. Fans are demanding answers, and it's time for the league to listen. Stick around, because this conversation is just getting started, and trust me, things are about to get even more intense.